Welcome back. Again, this is how things work. I'm Lou Bloomfield, and today, this semester we'll go through a whole lot of topics and look for physics underneath them. A couple of things before returning to the content. First off, at the end of the last class, it was chaos because there are a lot of students in this class, a lot of students coming in. I've never had a class immediately following this one before. So that collision was a problem. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is leave this room via the back. So the people will be waiting out here for chemistry, organic chemistry. So unless you want to take organic chemistry also, or encounter lots of such people, the back is a great way to go out. And furthermore, we share this one stairwell too much. So you might find it helpful to go to the second stairwell, go to the middle of the long corridor to escape. You'll hit less traffic. Okay? All right. The room remains empty. I have this room the hour before the class, so you're welcome to come on in. You're also welcome to ask me questions or talk with me in general while I'm during that hour before. I won't always get here super early, but it's all fair game. It used to be that I would say, talk to me after class. And actually, I still say that. Come and talk to me. We may have to migrate out of here in order to make room for the new class coming in, but you guys are my priority over everything else. I got myself a nice cart to try to help facilitate the escape. It's works in progress. Okay, second thing. You guys were great asking questions last time, and this is good. Okay, that's the whole point of this section here. The idea of flipping the classroom means I put the talking head stuff online, and we can talk here. And I again encourage you to use send me texts with questions if you don't want to bring yourself to ask them out loud. And actually out of class, you can send questions there too, and I may collect some of them and start class by addressing some of them. In general, if you guys have questions about content, I'm not random things. Of course, you may be the only person that cares, but stuff about the content of the class, in all likelihood, other people are thinking the same question. So do ask them, and I'll limit my focus probably to ones that are of general interest. Okay, but we'll do that. Graded work. The only graded work in this class are the 3 exams. So 2 in-class midterms. In this room, in class time, for those of you who don't have exceptions, and there are some of you. So it's in the class. Normally, I've let people go until the hour. That's going to be a little bit tricky with a new class coming in. I'll try to let you guys go as long as is tolerable. I try to design the exam so that most of you are done. The early birds will be done after 15, 20 minutes, but there will be people sticking around. So the exams and the problem sets. And the problem sets are online on a website that I maintain myself. And so it's free. You all should have gotten an email with an initial login for that site. And as far as the problem sets are concerned, you can pick away at them as you like. You can go and visit the problem set long in advance, answer nothing, come back out, and so on. You only get 1 grand attempt at the problem set. So the website allows, it's an open source Moodle that I'm using. It allows multiple. I could allow you to do it more than once, but I don't. I allow you to do it once, but within a problem set, you can come and go and come and go and come and go, and you also can pick away at the questions. You get 2 shots at each question. The second shot's only worth half credit, and it tries to give you feedback. The point of using that website as opposed to the one the university maintains is that I can give you the feedback. I can give you the multiple attempts, and that's important. This is not supposed to be an exam. It's supposed to be a learning experience. The point of the problem sets is to work your way through the material, to focus you on trying to learn it. So if you had to go back to the book, fine. If you have to go back to watch the videos or talk to me out of class, whatever, fine. Talk to your friends, fine. The only thing I encourage you not to do is get the question answers from friends. Because that defeats the purpose. And what will happen is you'll get a great problem set score and be murdered on the exams. And that happens every year. You get a certain number of people who are just stars on the problem sets, and they can't buy a vowel on the exam questions. All right? Any questions about problem sets and exams? All right. Yeah. Do you need the book? I say it's required. You know, in reality, if you want to live without a book, you can live without a book. But I have found that I learn an awful lot these days out of books. So I don't need me anymore, I need the book. If you can learn out of me rather than the book, fine, but everything's optional except for, of course, you want to take the exams and do the problem sets. Is that okay with people? I encourage you to watch the lecture video online and read the book in some form or other prior to the material that I do in class. And I will try to give you heads up on that. This is a new experience for me too. So today I'm going to continue with skating, but come Monday I'm going to shift to falling balls. Okay? So watch the video for falling balls, do the reading for the falling balls, and we'll see how this goes. And the scheduling will be a work in progress because of the change in style. Eye clickers, I encourage you to get them. Again, these are optional. However, it should be a good learning experience for you. I have written a whole bunch of questions for today even. If you don't have an eye clicker, you know, just follow along with us anyway. You don't need to register it. I'm not tracking anything. You're clicking for yourself, not for me or for your credentials. Is that okay? Or questions about that idea? Last thing is, I'd like to get to know everybody at least by name or a little bit or something. I never fully succeed. I get pretty far into the class. As I told you last time, I did let the class at one point get as large as 530, give or take, something like that. And that got tough. I couldn't tell. I never even seen some people. So now we're down to what I can consider an intimate gathering of about 230-ish. And I try to get to know everybody's name. And some of you I'll get to know reasonably well. Those of you who come to office hours or talk to me outside of class, which is great. If you use a name that's different from the one that like you get the emails from me with the names shoved in there, they're not really personal emails. They're mass emailings that are personalized. If the name is wrong, I would just not learn the wrong name if you have never called yourself Throckmorton in your life. I don't want to remember you as Throckmorton. So you can either text me your preferred name. If you use your normal name, fine. You know, we're done. But if you use something different, email it, text it. You can even come up. I secretly print out. It's this big secret, right? I print out your ID photos. You can come and scratch out the existing name. Just sneak up here and scratch out your existing name on there and write the one that you actually use. I prefer not too many jokes. Once in a while, I'll get somebody who, yeah, sure they call you that. I believe that. Any other questions, sort of logistical issues regarding the class itself? Okay, with that then, let me start going back to material. And the first topic, this is a How Things Work class. The concept of the class is this case study. So the case I have in mind for the first stories is skating, but I don't need to be compulsive about it. There are lots of equivalent situations like skating, skateboarding. Well, of course, suddenly my mind goes blank. That I could use instead. And the point is that I want you to get an idea of how inertia works. So I'm not going to leave skating completely to focus on inertia, because that would turn this into a semi-conventional class. But the idea to keep in mind is that a lot of times when you're moving on one of these devices or situations where the nuisance effects of everyday life, specifically friction and air resistance, are minimal, the motion that you see becomes surprisingly simple physically, not necessarily simple to understand. So the point of getting you on wheels or on ice is to get rid of the damn friction so as you can see how things move in the absence of these nuisances. And the way things move in the absence of nuisances is there's a lot of coasting going on. And coasting is a simple name for moving as inertia had in mind, or moving inertially. These are all equivalent words. Or ultimately, moving, that's good enough. Okay, so this is me trying to be inertial. I can't quite pull it off. But during that passage across the room, for the most part, I was experiencing no overall force. And the consequence was that I moved according to inertia, which says that I will move at a constant velocity. So this, now by doing this, I'm jumping right to some of the physical quantities that I put in the lecture video, and I'll come back to those and make sure that you're all comfortable with them. But I have really a whole bunch of illustrations of situations or examples where inertia dominates the behavior of something that matters to you to some extent. And the first one that I brought up, okay. Will the textbooks be in the bookstore? The bookstore, I don't know what the situation is with the bookstore. The simplest thing that you need for this class, so to go back to logistics for a minute, the simplest thing you need for this class, apart from nothing, which is a possibility, is to get the online textbook. The value of the online textbook, which is the 6th edition, and in doing that, I'm the author. In doing that, we made the decision to sort of leave paper and to go with online or active because I could illustrate the figures. Instead of being photographs or drawings, they could become videos and animations. And the value of that is that physics is all about things happening through time. And I can show you things in a video figure that I can't really do well at all in a still image. There are also questions that you can explore question and answer stuff that's just there in the online thing. So the cheapest version of this, as far as I know, is to buy it directly from Wiley Plus. And I gave you the links on these syllabi. And you can get it for 2 weeks. You can get it for free. So there's no reason not to even just take a look. I mean, if you can read the whole book and be done, you're done for free. In any case, you can get it online. You may also be able to get it at the bookstore. I've lost track. Does anybody know if it's available at the bookstore now? Yes, it is. Okay, so you can get it at the bookstore. You can get print versions. You also can get a downloadable version, so you don't need the internet in order to read it. Suit yourself. Any questions further about the exam? Exam. About the textbook. Think before I speak. Always a problem. What time are the problem sets due? They're listed on the syllabus, and that probably won't change, or rarely. So the first problem set is due on September 12th at 1 o'clock. That is the start of class. And if you miss the deadline, contact me. I can reopen it, but I'll dock some credit. I mean, unless there's an issue. I mean, if you have illnesses and all that, the chaos of normal life, we can work around that. But in general, the deadline's a deadline. Also, just as a general harangue, don't aim at a deadline. It's not a target. So there are people that are there trying to press the final button at 1:03, and is that good enough? No, it's not a target. You're not close. It's not like horseshoes or whatever, or not horseshoes. It's so aim early, please. And how do you access the problem sets? When I click on the link, it says error. It's possible that you're encountering problems with SSL certificates. My own site doesn't have a security certificate. They cost money if I go outside the university. So you may be encountering an error that says, danger, danger. This site is scary. Confirm an exception, allow yourself in. If you really run into trouble, come talk to me. We'll get you access. Any other questions? Okay, again, thanks for asking these questions, because people will care. So, returning to the material, that the motion of a lot of situations, skating included, is a lot of it's inertial and things that continue moving as they were in the absence of something pushing on them. And I asked you last time, didn't ask you, is this going to work? Come on. Why is, Can you guys see that, or do I have to go dimmer? How many would like me to go dimmer the room lights? Okay, fine. a zillion renovations, all kinds of crazy tech, and we have never been able to get this right. So I have to lecture in the dark if you want to be able to see the screen. So we'll then maybe someday before when I'm still here, we'll get it right. Okay, among other things, I'm an optical physicist, so this drives me crazy. You can do this, oh. Anyway, so the issue is a rotary lawnmower, and I flew through this last time. I want to come back. A rotary lawnmower is one of these mowers that spins a sharp blade very, very rapidly, and it encounters the grasses and cuts the grasses. And the question was, can you cut the grass without having the grass attached to the ground? If there were no roots, would this still work? And actually, you may have by this point have forgotten. So let's see. What do you think? You guys can vote with your. If you've got clickers, give me a vote here. I think the whole thing is working. It's a good test run here. Can you cut it without the roots? Woo. So if you can have either a physical eye clicker or you can use your phone for it. Although they all cost money, it's the way of life. The poll. Thank you. As I say, I'm out of practice here. There we go. The polling's open. Hey, now I'm getting traction here. You probably enjoy seeing the polling go by, right? Okay, I'll give you about 10 more seconds. Okay, and just for fun, I will open up the results. Yeah, you can change. The fun thing about opening up before I close the polling is you guys can change, right? You can have a battle. You can go in there as E, right? You might as well have fun in school. Okay, so the point is, you guys have already made huge progress over previous semesters. I will stop it now, otherwise we'll spend the rest of the time having fun in games, which is not entirely bad, but okay. I hate lecturing in the dark. So, or lecturing, talking, being in the dark here. You guys can, I'll stop. Yes, you can indeed cut grass that is not attached to the ground, and it's done all the time. In fact, a lot of the rotary lawnmowers have a mulching character. They're actually able to cut the grass multiple times. If you don't send the grass either out onto the lawn or into a bag, you can block that access. You can cut the grass and cut it 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 until it's just tiny little flinders. And a similar situation, instead of cutting grass again, is food processors. Okay, I'm still learning how to deal with this stuff. Yeah, I want to do this one. Okay, I will go back to lecturing in the dark. Oh, yeah, why it takes 10 seconds for it to get its mind together. When you switch on a food processor, or all these equivalent devices, a blender, a coffee mill, a grain mill, so it being Friday, the middle of the weekend, when you make your blended cocktail that contains no alcohol because you're only 18, why doesn't the ice cube just go out of the way of the blade? Why does it get cut? And so there are five answers I've given you. You okay? Make your choices. And you're welcome to talk among yourselves to come up with an answer too. There's some advantage to listening to each other. We'll go to 60 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna reel it in here. I'm gonna press the stop button, and I'll press the pulling button. There it is. Whoa, it's pretty distributed. Why don't you keep going for another 30 seconds? Of course, I can't, it's impossible. I need more screens. But I mean, I could do that, but that would drive me crazy. Okay, you're pretty well distributed. Well, let's look at I'll stop this for a second. The first one, the blade exerts zero force on the food. Well, when the blade encounters the food, it's gonna push. Maybe not a lot, but it's gonna push. So that A just, no, it's not A. Is that okay? How about B? Because of inertia, the food and the blade move at the same constant velocity. That doesn't have to happen. I mean, yeah, the inertia's around, but the food and the blade could be moving at any random velocity relative to one another. That's also sort of off topic. The C is an interesting one. The blade transfers its inertia to the food. Well, inertia isn't something that you have and you can give to somebody. I can't give you my inertia. We will see that there are things that one object can give to the second object. I mean, you're used to this in the real world, like you can give money to somebody. You don't give, well, yeah, you can give money to somebody. But there are equivalent things in physics. Inertia is not one of them. And the last, D then, is because of inertia, the food only moves while the blade is touching the food. This is an important one to pay attention to, and that is, it is common experience that if you don't push on something, it stops. You push on it, it moves. You don't push on it, it stops. So push, it moves. Don't push, it stops. That's what you live with most of your life. So you can come away thinking, wow, pushes, with the fancy name forces, cause motion. They actually don't. Forces cause changes in motion, but they don't cause the motion itself. The motion comes from history. What was the thing doing a second ago? It inherits that motion. So if the story started like this, I'm going to go on the side, so I approximately get rid of friction. Nah, of course I'll get rid of the Coke too. Is this a Coke school or a Pepsi school? I can't remember anymore. What a nuisance. Theoretically, it's Pepsi. Okay, so I'm enjoying violating the rules. Is this so good or what? Okay, so if the story starts now, I'm not pushing on it, and yet it's moving. Why? Because forces don't cause motion, they cause changes in motion. More specifically, they cause acceleration. So a key thing to learn, and I can't sort of emphasize this enough, or maybe I do overemphasize it, is that forces do not cause velocity. Hopefully by now you've encountered velocity in the videos and book. Forces don't cause velocity. Velocity comes from history, what you were doing before. Forces cause changes in velocity, which is known as acceleration. Any questions about that idea? So I'll come back to these and make sure you all are comfortable with the terms in a minute, but this brings us to the fifth and final choice. The food's inertia prevents it from accelerating quickly enough to outrun the blade. And this is, it's a terse answer, but it's the right answer. Just like the grass. Why does the grass get cut? It's because the blade is going so fast. It does indeed push on the grass, but the grass, and it causes the grass to accelerate. But the grass tends to do what it was doing, which is to stand still. And the blade goes right through the grass before the grass has a chance to accumulate, to change its velocity much. Its velocity was 0. It ends not quite 0, but it's certainly not up to the speed of the blade. The blade outruns it. Is that okay? And toward that end, this is my crazy, one of my many white elephants. It's a grain mill I got for experiments that I never use. So today I get to use it, and we're going to mix everything. We're going to put pasta, into a grain mill and make the blade spin. And if it causes serious trouble, who cares? Ready? I mean, as long as I'm still here talking later. Ready? Wow, pasta, woo! Okay? I finally got to use it. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to come back up in light. This will be a chronic problem. So the lawnmower perfectly comfortably cuts the grass. You can cut it and recut it and recut it into little flinders like this. And so mulching mowers are useful if you don't have too much grass. If you got too much grass, you'll kill the existing grass by dropping all this chopped up debris onto it. But if the lawn only grew a little bit, you can just slice the grass up into little flinders, let it fall into between the grasses, and it'll be fine. Okay, so there I hopefully have helped you with your future lawn mowing obligations. You do want the blade to be sharp. Why? Because it needs to sneak through the grass. A dull blade will succeed in exerting enough force on the grass to cause it to accelerate, and it won't work quite as well. All right? Oh, boy. Multitasking, something I do not do well. Wouldn't the wind generated by the mower blow away the grass before they can cut it? The mower does indeed create wind. It tends to create an updraft. The blades are cut as wings, which is an interesting thing, like a fan blade. And we'll come to how wings work when we talk about airplanes, which is in our future. That updraft tends to pull the grass a little bit up and straight. But the blade is going so fast that updraft gets the grass moving at maybe a couple miles an hour. And the blades are typically going 150 miles an hour. The designers of lawnmowers know how fast it's got to go, and I believe it's about 150 miles an hour that moving sharp edge has to go. If it goes too slowly, the grasses will get out of the way too easily. If it's going too fast, it's just too dangerous. All right? But you need to go fast. It's the same way with me cutting the apple. There's the apple. All right, I'll do it the free arm. If I go too slowly, of course, I just push the apple across the bench. Because yes, the apple, inertia is still around, but I'm pushing, the force now is enough to cause an acceleration and cause the apple to get out of the way. But if I go, again, another flesh wound. Come on. All right? Yeah. So, I said forces don't cause what? Forces do not cause velocity. So while it may seem that the force is causing the motion, velocity, you can see velocity very easily. You see the cans position changing with time. So it sure looks like if I push on it, its position changes with time, which is velocity. Again, velocity is a vector quantity, this mysterious word. I will say 2 cents about it. Ask me if I'm not making it clear. Vector quantities are nothing special. They are just quantities like 3 cups of sugar with the addition of one other detail of information. Which way? A cup of sugar doesn't have a direction. But if you say you're going to Richmond, or you're telling somebody how to go to Richmond, you have to give them a little extra. The information you give them is, well, you drive about 70 miles. But that's not enough. 70 miles, when they head due north and they're going to be, what, in West Virginia or something. Mistake. If they want to get to Richmond, they got to go 70 miles, mostly east. So that east is the added piece of information that turns it from just an ordinary quantity, which has got a name of its own. It's called a scalar quantity, to what's known as a vector quantity, that direction piece. Is that okay? So when I push on this, it sure looks like my force is causing velocity, the vector quantity, which consists of speed and direction. It looks like it's moving, I don't know, a couple inches per second to the left, and I'm causing that. It's not right, though, because there's a battle going on between me and friction. And if I get rid of the friction part, I don't have to keep pushing to keep it moving. It will move for free. So the story starts after I stop pushing, and it's going on its own, moving forward as inertia had in mind. because it just has a tendency. Things in our universe have a tendency to keep doing what they were doing. That in mind, people would keep doing what they're doing. That's a comment on modern society and life. People will keep moving as they were in the absence of friction and air resistance. So who wants to be the hoverboard pilot? Can I have a hoverboard pilot? Oh, please, come on down. So if we can get rid of friction, sit you on a chair and get rid of friction, you'll move as inertia had in mind. Actually, we need a hoverboard pusher, too. Please. Okay. So, you tell me your name? George. Okay, George and Antonio. So Antonio's going to push George. George, you have to center yourself on the hoverboard. You sit on it. You want to sit on it, and just want to get your weight evenly balanced, which itself is a physics story. But and you get to squeeze the trigger here, which will put air up between George and the ground. That will put a layer of air. You can go ahead and start this. And as the air accumulates, friction will go away. You can start just gently push him and get him started. Whoa! Gently. So the point is, George will now move as inertia had in mind, rather than the usual friction problem. Once you get started, you coast. Can you go rescue George? Or well, I guess George can turn on friction, and they'll come to a stop. Okay? Thanks. Okay. You can call it a day. We're good. We're good. We're good. Thank you, guys. and again, I appreciate people help, participating in this. And I will, again, try not to embarrass anybody doing it. But this is the real world physics. You get rid of friction and things coast. People coast. The point to observe there was Antonio didn't have to push George to keep him moving. He had to push George to change George's velocity, to start him, to stop him, and also to turn his path. That counts too. Accelerations are not just, I can show you me accelerating. I'm motionless, and now I'm heading to the left. I was accelerating during the transition. And here I'm motionless, and now I'm accelerating to the right, okay? It's got a direction to it. It's another vector quantity. And you can accelerate when you speed up, or when you slow down, or when you turn. So if I'm walking around a circle like this, I'm accelerating. Is that okay? And accelerations are always caused by forces. So an object, if you observe an object accelerate, when I say it accelerates, that means it has an acceleration that's not zero. This is physics jargon issues. If you see something accelerating, you know it's got a net force on it. And to make sure everyone's clear on net force, force is the fancy name for a push or a pull. An object can't respond to all the pushes and pulls on it. It responds to the sum of them, where direction is taken into account properly. So if 5 people were fighting over George while he was free of any other forces, George would accelerate in response to the sum of their forces, which has the name net force. It's not surprising that net shows up in modern life all over. So net forces cause acceleration. Is that okay? I can easily get totally. Yeah, one more. If the blade is moving too slowly or is dull, it spoils the story. Just like if we get this, the blade's dull or moving too slowly, then the forces begin to cause significant accelerations and change the story. Ideally, when I'm cutting the apple, I want a sharp knife. I don't want the back of the knife. If I use the back of the knife, I knock batter up, okay? So you want it the sharp end, small force. I barely feel the encounter. I barely am aware when the knife hits the apple. It just goes right in. The force is so small. And you want to go fast because you don't want to give the apple time to accelerate in response to the force. Can I have the apple? Yeah. I don't know if you want the apple anymore, but you can have the bananas. All right. If an object has constant velocity, is it considered to be accelerating? This is a little bit of a wording issue. Everything always has an acceleration. It just might be the acceleration is 0, which is a very important special case. An object that has an acceleration of 0 is moving at constant velocity. It's inertial. It's evidently experiencing a net force of dead 0, okay? So we can quibble about exactly the words. I tend to say, when I say it's accelerating, I tend to mean it's not. Its acceleration is not 0. It's something else. That's the one number I'm excluding. Okay? So some more questions to ask you guys. Let's try this one. You're driving a small truck. It's moving north horizontally at constant speed. I put the directions in just so I can name things and be specific. There's a big block of slippery ice in the back of the truck. So I'm thinking a little, the toy trucks, and you can jack it up on big wheels if you like. It's have your fun. Okay, you were at a red light. No, in this one, this one's a stopping one. You are moving along at constant speed, and then you slam on the brakes. What happens to the block of ice, and why? Well, what happens? You okay with the question? Oh my gosh! Wait, yeah, I did do it right. Okay. We'll go for 25 seconds and call it a day. Otherwise, we will anyway run out of the hour. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Vast majority are saying it shifts towards the front of the truck's bed. So they're going for A. You all are preferring A. And sure, that is exactly what's going to happen. The ice shifts toward the front of the truck. Did something push the ice forward? How many think yes? Why did the ice go forward? Well, the ice didn't change its velocity. It kept going at constant velocity. It's just the truck stopped. So the ice overtook the truck. How to say this? When I start running out of time, I start getting terse. There's the block of ice in your truck, okay? We'll get the truck started. I got all these. Get the truck started. So don't watch while I get the truck. There it started, and now I stop the truck. The block of ice went flying toward the front of the truck. It didn't actually speed up. The ice did not speed up. The ice simply moved at constant velocity while the truck stopped. And so the ice just kept going, and it overtook the truck and shifted toward the driver. You understand the difference? It didn't speed up. It was an issue of the truck stopped. I have another version of the question, which, okay, it would be fun to be able to ask all these, but I can't do it. You've all had this experience, too, that suppose that everybody stopped at the red light. This is the question I thought I was about to ask you. And then the light turns green, and you just decided to play drag racer, and boom, you go like that. Well, of course, the ice shifts towards the back of the truck. And did anything push the ice? No. The ice just was an object at rest, tending to stay at rest, and the truck drove out from under it. Is that okay? So watch the stuff in your car, your bicycle basket, whatever it is, as the vehicle accelerates, watch the stuff try not to accelerate because nothing's pushing on it. So it just does what it was doing. And that causes it to shift around in interesting ways. The most interesting of which, I will ask this one. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is a public service announcement, as in, oh, come on, there. And some of these you will see when you study for the exams. These are essentially old exam questions. So it's worth pay attention to these. You're driving forward towards Richmond at constant velocity, and your phone's resting on the dashboard. The road turns toward your left. and your phone slides out the window. Death and destruction, okay? Why did that happen? I mean, hopefully it wasn't your phone, but surely something like this has happened. If it didn't go out the window, it's like, wow, there it goes, something like that, right? You know this effect. And so where did this come from? You guys vote on this. Here you go. Yeah, sometimes I run out of good, you'll see on the exams also, I run out of good wrong answers and I just start putting in, whatever comes to mind as long as it's not politically incorrect. Well, sometimes, anyway, whatever. Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0. The other thing, actually, with respect to E, if I irritate or offend somebody, tell me. I never do it intentionally, and I'm pretty self-aware of this. But there are occasions like the example that comes to mind was reading my course evaluations now many years ago about a discussion I had concerning airplanes, and small planes in particular are susceptible to a type of catastrophe known as stalling, which we will talk about. And stalling is it's a very serious thing for small planes during takeoff and landing. And actually, one of you all lost her father about a year before I was talking about this in class. And the way I said it was glib and cavalier, and I left a really bad feeling for her. So tell me if I ever do that kind of thing. I try not to, but once in a while I screw up. So, okay, having said that, oh, don't do that. Oh, I killed the answer. We don't even know. You have to vote again. Be quick about it. Operator error here. If I do stupid stuff, kick me. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Answer. A. Yes. The phone moved forward because of inertia. It was just going straight, minding its own business, when you turned the car, and the car drove out from under it. So it's this problem. Here's the phone on the dashboard. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay? Watch it happening. You can predict which way it'll go. It depends on how you accelerate, start, stop, turn, and hopefully it's useful. Similar example is the car itself will do this sort of thing on an icy day. So the hazards when you're driving on an icy day, they're the turns and the starting and the stoppings. The car tends to go inertial when it can't get traction from the ground because it can't turn if it doesn't have a force to push on it because it can't accelerate. So cars go off the road by going straight. I mean, that's oversimplified, but that's part of the story. Okay? For time, let me make sure I've done all the useful demonstrations. I showed you this one before. I hope that all of you will know that if you have something, clothing, you're doing laundry, you want to have parts of it pull away from other parts, get the whole thing moving, and then stop the parts you can hold on to. And the other part keeps going because of inertia. So this is one example, but the other examples are, okay, I had the ketchup example the other time. You want to get the ketchup out of the bottom and into the lid, get the whole ketchup moving, and then stop the container. The ketchup will go to the lid. Your shampoo, all that stuff. Obviously, keep the cap on. We all know that, yeah, you've forgotten. I've done a few of those accidental physics experiments. I was going to ask about nails and a hammer. If you get a hammer going, it tends to keep doing what it was doing, and it keeps going along. And if it encounters a nail in this process, the nail will try to stop the hammer. They will push very hard on each other, but the hammer will basically win, and it will push the nail into the wood. So it's all very easy to pound a nail into when you pound a nail into a piece of wood that's below you, you can kind of think, well, that makes sense because gravity pulls down all that stuff. It has nothing to do with gravity. You can pound a nail into something that's above you. Let me get it started. But here I can put the nail underneath. I can pound up. No problem. The story is a little complicated because I get the hammer started, and that's a whole story. But once the hammer started, it tends to keep doing what it's doing, and it will, when it hits things, it'll just keep going. It will partly stop, but as long as I'm really assertive about getting it moving quickly, the nail won't stop it in time. Let me just see what else is up here on the. If you're going at constant speed but changing direction, are you accelerating? Yes. And before you guys pile out of here, let me ask you a couple of these ones. I got to get the right one. Oh, yeah. Well, rather than do that, any change in velocity is an acceleration. So when I speed up, that's acceleration. When I slow down, that's an acceleration. And when I change my direction. So pay attention to the changes in direction. They're very important. Acceleration occurs easily when you change. It's definitely when you're changing direction. I wanted to give you another example, or two more examples. I'll do this one rather than let it forever. You ever wonder how your spin dryer works? You do laundry. Either that or you have a very friendly, I know some of you take it home. Laundry, you'll never learn how to do laundry. Oh yeah, it's done magically. Okay, so you got your wet laundry. How do you get the water out of this thing? Well, get the towel and the water moving. I want to do it where you can see it. Right? You get the water and towel moving, I can wipe out the text, right? Why does the water go flying at the wall? Did I push on it or something? No, I did not push on it. I stopped the towel, but the water didn't stop. It kept going. And that's how spin dryers work. They whip the water and the clothes around in a circle. They keep bending the path and changing the direction of the clothes. And the water doesn't get the message. It keeps going straight, and it flies right out. One more set of demonstrations I want to do before I leave this whole thing behind, and that is, I'd never talk about mass. Acceleration is caused by a force. It's resisted by mass, which is the measure of an object's inertia, and different objects have different inertias. You know that if you try to get a baseball going, accelerate it, that's easy. Get a bowling ball going, a lot harder, much more mass. And so the example, an example that comes to mind is the paper towel roll or paper, toilet paper. If you take a piece of paper and snap off like that, surely you might have done that before, okay? And so what's going on here is the force, the sheet of paper does indeed exert a force on the roll. The roll has so much inertia that it has no time to accelerate and to be anything more than stationary. And the paper just pulls away. But if the roll doesn't have very much paper on it, the last few sheets, when you do that, well, I'm super good here. But it's a losing battle eventually. And eventually, whoa, you get the whole roll comes with you. Whoa, okay, right? And then you have a Breakfast Club problem. So this is, again, is all inertia stuff in play. Here, the measure of the inertia, the big roll has a lot more inertia. The trick works well. The little roll, not so much. Okay, prepare for falling balls next time, and we'll head that direction.